now tuned in to Melanin Confidential.
Hi friends, so we are back again, ready, and this time we are talking about spirituality. So we got some good stuff for you. We ended our last note talking relationships, so I know you all love that episode. So you know how we like to start things off, just giving you our slice of life, and this time, it's going to be quarantine edition because that's currently what we have going on.
Yes.
If you have anything going on, which hopefully you do, and you've made this time as productive as possible.
For sure.
So, who wants to start it off?
I guess I'll start off with quarantine edition of Slice of Life, as we all
Isn't
know.
that weird? That's like normal life now.
Yeah, it's crazy. As we all know, we are trapped indoors. So my biggest thing is I've just been trying to find a level of routine, some sort of routine. I'm a social butterfly, so where I get my energy is from people and doing activities. So the fact that I can't actually get out and do that, I'm trying to figure that out. So I've kind of started back working out. I was a little bummed that I wasn't able to go to like some of my classes and things like that. So I've started back working out, YouTube videos. I'm trying to become a master hair braider out here in these streets.
Hit her in her DMs.
Only if you negative for Corona though. And then the other thing that I've been doing also is kind of just exploring meditation a little bit more. So that's what I've been doing.
I've been pretty much doing the same. Definitely working on old hobbies. So I love to sing. I love to dance. So I've been pretty much using like my social media platform for everything besides fashion right now.
It's not like we got anywhere to go to wear clothes.
I don't have anywhere to go. So you know what I mean? Like I just can't bring myself to like dress up and have nowhere to go. Yeah. But anyways, definitely doing that. And then as far as just like new hobbies, taking up new things, I actually am gonna start doing my own nails. Perhaps.
Come on now.
Yes. I know. Perhaps I might make it a little side hustle. We don't know, but I'm all about disposable incomes. 2020 is not canceled in the self-care department or the finance department.
You got to make it do what it do. Yeah, with the resources you got.
Absolutely. So
yeah, I agree with that. Look, I'm looking at you now, friend. Go ahead and tell them what happened. Go ahead, girl.
Well, previously you all knew that I was planning a destination wedding to Cabo, Mexico. So turn of events kind of got canceled, but it's okay because guess what? Your girl still got married. Love prevails. Okay?
Yeah.
So super excited about that. I mean, we made the decision when things started to take a turn for the worse. We said our union was most important to us, and regardless if we couldn't have a wedding, we knew that obviously there's more to marriage than just the day of getting married. So we made it happen. I actually got married at my parents' house and decorated it really cute and had the pastor. It was really beautiful. So I'm married now. I'm officially Mrs. Pugh. And, we're still going to have a blessed marriage. It is what it is. We're flexible. We're learning a lot. Life comes at you, and it has come at us at the beginning of our relationship. So, but it's all good. So just been, honeymooning and enjoying some new things, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So, I mean, my hopes really for everyone coming out of this is just hopefully everybody comes out stronger, learning more about themselves and everything. So I hope everyone takes this time to be as productive as possible, just learning more. So
and not even, to speak on the productivity, it doesn't necessarily have to be something along the lines of actually like doing something or finding a new skill, but more so just restoring who you are as a person and just getting back to finding those things that you like, what you don't like. So that way, when the outside does open back up, like you feel refreshed, you feel renewed, you're ready to, what is the saying when opportunity, what is it when,
I don't remember.
I don't know.
When preparation meets opportunity. Like you'll be ready, because you'll mentally be ready, physically, whatever that looks like for you. So that's what I took what you just said as far as
Yeah.
like the preparation and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Because listen, God is still good in the midst of this all. And I know sometimes it's hard to find the positivity through all this negativity that you see, the news and just everything going on. But through the midst of it all, you know, God is still good. He's still our provider. And, you know, so we have to keep, if we can, just keep that mindset. I know it's easier said than done sometimes, but maybe we all needed this time to really just reflect on things ourselves, you know, situations. So
it's forcing us to slow down and kind of redirect our focus on other things in our lives, and spirituality is one of those things.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Getting closer with God, understanding yourself, and
so it's kind of funny how this episode topic today kind of just fell into place with everything.
Yeah.
So spirituality. So you want to kick us off, Eve, with spirituality and religion?
yeah, sure. So, you know, with spirituality and religion, I would definitely say for me, speaking personally, it goes hand in hand. And I feel like religion has always been more so the foundational aspect.
Yeah.
It's more of like the literal knowledge. And then I feel like spirituality is more of the relationship aspect. But I definitely feel like it can go hand in hand. I know some people have that mindset where they feel like you either gonna be spiritual or you either gonna be religious.
Right.
I feel like it's the best of both worlds when you're able to combine those two things together. You can know all the knowledge in the world when it comes to the Bible. You can spit out Bible verses, but if you cannot execute that word in your spiritual being and the way you live, then it really is no point. So you got to have the foundational piece for sure.
For sure. I think for me, as far as spiritual and religion, I personally think it's kind of slightly two different things for me. The reason being is because the older I get, the more I realize that religion to me is like a set value of principles. So kind of like what you said, the foundation of things. However, spirituality, again, like you said, has to do with how it's interpreted and how you apply it to your life.
Yes.
But I think where people get the two confused, and that's why I say that I feel it's different, is because there is something of a religion, it doesn't mean that you have to follow that to a T, because at the end of the day, like you were saying, we all have our individual relationships. You know, I'm just going to speak as a Christian, like with God, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know how within Christianity, within that religion of Christianity, there's different like there's non-denominational Baptists, different things like that. So it's like, so it's like so many different flavors to one particular thing per se. So I think the act of it, to me, I see where it can be similar, but I also feel like there are distinct differences. So that's my opinion on it personally.
Yeah, I'd have to say religion is like the starter pack, right? It gives you, like you said, your knowledge, but if you don't execute it and you can't actually live out what you know, because I mean, you can go to college, you can read books, you can do all this all day, but if you're not actually applying that to your life, then I feel like that's when you kind of fail on the spirituality part. If you choose to then graduate onto spirituality, because like you said, V, that religion aspect gives you that foundation. And then as a person, you choose either to grow more and have that personal relationship with God. I know personally for me, I was kind of in and out of church growing up. We weren't really consistent with going to church on a regular basis. And I did look at churches more so religion, like I knew who God was. But it wasn't until I got older that I really decided to grow and develop my own relationship and really talk to him like I do, you know, you all. So and creating that inner bond, and once I really just grasped that sense of spirituality, I feel like that's when my growth really started growing, or my faith really started growing, I should say, when I really just took off in that spirituality department.
Absolutely. There are distinctive differences in spirituality versus religion, but I also feel like just now that we're kind of like expounding on the idea more, I feel like you can have spirituality without religion, but you can't have religion without spirituality.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%.
Because as Chelsea, you were saying, it's almost like that level of graduation, right? Where like, okay, you understand the fundamentals and now you've kind of moved on. I want to know, I know you kind of shed a little bit of light on this, Chelsea, but I want to know from you, Shay, we kind of talked about this outside of the show, but like, how was your upbringing when it came to like religion and church and things of that nature?
So my upbringing was pretty much we went to church every Sunday. My mom, she had us heavily involved in the church, and we started out going to when I was younger, we went to a non-denominational church, and then we transitioned over to a Baptist church probably when I was like in my later years of like middle school and high school. So going to church for me, I think, I understood Jesus Christ. I accepted him as my Lord and Savior at the level of understanding that I had at that particular age.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, but it still wasn't like I had my own personal relationship with him. I feel like I was just going to church because that's what
you
I was
were
supposed to
told.
do. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Grandma's praying for you, baby. You
Yeah.
good?
So I felt like,
Exactly.
like, okay, I'm going to church because I feel like this is the right thing to do. These were the things that were instilled in me. Oddly enough, though, I remember I had one of my mom's friends. She has a very discerning spirit. So it was crazy because as a kid, even now, I'm really good at praying. Like, people will ask me in the family, like, just pray, and it's like some sort of, I guess, gift that God blessed me with. Like, I pray.
Spirit, come over you.
Yeah, like I'm able
Lay it
to
on
pray,
you.
like, really, really well. But as I've become an adult, I still kind of struggle with trying to find, I think I'm still on a journey of trying to find my relationship and how I want that to manifest and with my spirituality. I do believe in God. I would consider myself to be a Christian. However, do I feel like I have expounded upon my true calling within that? No. Do I feel like I want to get to that point? Yes. I think a lot of things that have enabled me from getting to that point are maybe like the people I've had around me in previous years.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me is, and I know this kind of wraps into like our segment of just relationships in general, but being mindful of the people you keep around you, like having a spouse, like, so personally for me, like in the past, I've had, spouses who aren't necessarily like God-fearing. And then if you're cohabitating with that particular spouse, I don't want to say God-fearing, but let me say they don't believe that church or, being in that type of facility will help to manifest your relationship with God. But I would say to the young lady or young man that's out there, and you may have a spouse that's not into, don't let that stop you, because I feel like that has
Pray on their
enabled me.
behalf.
Yeah, that has
Still
enabled
build your
me
relationship.
a lot from being able to build my relationship. And now I'm kind of at a point now where I'm in my season of singleness. And so I'm just trying to figure out like what that relationship really looks like for me. And even, because my mom will always call and say like, you should be in church. Even my dad, it's crazy. My parents always say, you should be in church. You should be in church. And
mine too.
I think what it is for me, I'm just trying to find the right church home that I want to go to.
That's so important.
And also a level of understanding where I can grasp that word and then I can apply it. Pre-Rona, I was looking and visiting different churches to try to kind of fill out what I liked. So once everything kind of smoothed over, I'll continue with that.
Yeah, that's good.
I have to second that. Like, for me, I feel like my growth really started when I found a church where I felt like I could really apply it to my life. I didn't just want to sit in church like when I was younger. And when we did go to church and it was like, oh yeah, I go to church. I went to church. And it was more so, I felt like that was a good thing. That's what we were supposed to do. But I wasn't applying. It was like, oh, church is just Sunday, and then I'm living my own life.
Right.
Monday through Saturday. That's not how it's supposed to be, you know? And so when I found a church where I was really able to receive the word and hear it out and apply it to my life, because I'm a real analytical person, and obviously, spirituality and being analytical, they really don't go hand in hand. But when I found a church where I was really able to get it and be like, I can do this, that's when I really saw my growth. And I was able, like I said, from there, take it and kind of run with it on my own,
Right. We've actually had side conversations about this as well, just of me still looking for a church home. I grew up in a household where like you needed to be in the house of the Lord. Like it's just not enough to like watch it online or you know what I'm saying, to like hear it through the grapevine, whatever the case may be. So with that being said, having a church home has definitely been like an important aspect of like my upbringing. As far as like how I got brought up in general though, super, super duper in the church. I went to a Christian private school up until high school.
I did not know
Yes,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, I was in a public school, but up until that point, most of my adolescent and middle school years, I spent in private school. I was in, vacation Bible school. I was in
I remember
any
those days.
yes,
We did
like
that too.
any
We did
like
that
little
too.
side church event. I was in choir, like dance team, praise team. Like I feel like growing up in the church, it created like a very good moral structure for me.
Definitely.
But I don't really think I understood like the depth and the amount of stuff you can get out of like spirituality and like really having a real true relationship.
That
I didn't really
relationship part is
understand
so
that
important.
aspect. But I also feel like with growth comes like evolution. As you grow in Christ, there are some things that you realize about yourself, how you're getting the word or how you retain the word. Because I was so immersed in the church for a really long time, I was very naive in the secular world.
Oh, yeah.
So there were lots of things that I really kind of did not understand. So I think for me, understanding the application of the word more so than just like it's a way of life. This is what you're supposed to do.
Right.
But now that I've developed kind of my relationship skills and how to communicate with God, I feel like that's helping me a lot. And I also just want to talk about too, you mentioned earlier how like you pray well, Shay, like how your family always says that. My dad prays really, really well too. Let me just say that, hey, Daddy. Yes, you pray. Look, we get him to pray at everything.
That's how they are in my family. Girl, pray.
Easter, yes, like he can just pray.
Right.
But it goes back to like how in relationships we talk about love languages, but there are also languages within Christ. I feel like it's really important to like use your gifts.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what they are, to find out what they are
Yeah.
and not stop. Keep praying. You know what I'm saying? If that's your thing, keep praying. So
Yeah, so I write out my prayers and then I like say them out loud because I don't know, like I've always been big. Sometimes I'm not big on speaking things and I can't get it out, but I just start when I get that pen to the paper, I just start writing and everything literally just pours out of me. And then I also wanted to comment on you said the people around you, Shay. And I know for me, when I was initially in a relationship where church and God wasn't really important to that person, when I kind of broke things off, that's when I really started to have that growth and those blessings really started coming in.
right.
And obviously at the end of the day, I can control myself. I can't control somebody else. And I let that person hold me back. But once I realized, I can have this growth on my own, and that was important to me even into my next, relationship. But community is so important, in a church, outside of a church, having people that can pray for you, having people that can support you and not look down on you. And I know that's a big thing. A lot of times people have that church hurt where they walk in and they don't feel welcome. Like sometimes you always hear churchly or godly people are the nastiest people out here and the most judgmental when it should not be that way. The only person that can judge you or the only being that can judge you is God at the end of the day.
Look, you who without sin, cast the first stone.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I know that was important for me when finding a church. I wanted to feel that welcome and, because, you never know. People are in different walks of life and you shouldn't judge those. Like, just be happy the fact that they made it to church.
Yes.
Be a light. Like, you never know who is watching you out there, and being a light to others, that positivity that you were talking about, in your own personal relationship.
Or
being
even why they showed up. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, they could really be on their last leg. You know what I'm saying? And this was the end all be all. And if it don't go right here today, things could get worse after they leave.
Yeah, and don't be that person to allow them to stumble. Like,
Right.
lift them up,
Absolutely. So it brings me to my last and final question. Obviously we know how we got brought up. Do you guys have any like insight on how you would bring up your kids or your family? I know that's kind of premature because none of us have kids yet, but
I mean,
we'll get
speak
there
on
soon.
it.
y'all a little bit further than I am, but I guess I can go first. I think for me, my biggest thing is when I do venture off into having my, next relationship, whatever that looks like, the foundation, we both got to have a foundation in God, and that foundation has to be solid. I feel like if one parent doesn't have it and the other one does, there could also kind of create some level of conflict there, essentially, in how you want to raise your children in general.
Yeah.
So I think if the two parties who are procreating have the same foundation thing spiritually, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I think I would probably go along the lines of what my parent, or I'll say my mom did per se. Is I would introduce it, but I think one of the things that I will do that my mom didn't is I would explain the level of the connection a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I would not frame it in a way, and I'm not saying she did this, but I feel like because there was no explanation behind it, I
Mm-hmm.
assumed it to be so, that this is mandatory. Like, you
Yeah.
have to do this to, X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And so I think I'll be a little bit more expressive with my kids and letting them understand, like, I'm exposing you to this, but
Mm-hmm.
this is a choice that you ultimately make at the end of the day, because when we come into this world, we come into this world alone, and we leave this world alone.
Mm-hmm.
And when you meet God, when you go into the next phase of, the afterlife, you're doing that alone. So it's up to you to make that, spiritual connection.
Right.
Like, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't force it to drink. So that's the same approach that I will take with my kids.
Mm-hmm. I will definitely take my kids to church as well. I definitely want to introduce them to the concepts of like religion and spirituality. I would just do a better job as far as like the overall execution, giving explanation. I grew up in a household where you do what I say.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
there is no other rhyme or reason. There is no questions that you need to ask because I told you to do it and it's the right thing to do. So there were times in my life, even in my spiritual life, where I may not have asked certain questions just because I'm like, well, this is what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
So I definitely want to direct my children, but I want them to steer. I want them to tell me what they got out of the message.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important to meet people at their spiritual level.
Definitely.
That's a lot of the reasons why I feel like there's a disconnect when it comes to like religion and spirituality, especially in regards to like the secular or worldly views. Is like, meet people where they are. You know what I'm saying? If I'm God fearing, I've been in this thing, I've been having this relationship for 10 plus years, it's going to look different to me than somebody who just walked in last month. You know what I'm saying? So you definitely need to be mindful of like people's spiritual maturity and kind of meet them where they are. Because I feel like another reason why people get turned off about the church is because they think church folk think they know everything. And we don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I can say personally for me, like, religion my spirituality has definitely had a positive effect, like my beliefs on my life. And I want my kids to experience that as well too. My husband, Derek, I feel like we're equally yoked in the sense where we both have a strong foundation as far as our faith. And I want our kids to get their identity from Christ and in our household and not look to the world to find their identity, which is hard growing up. You have all these things being thrown in your face, and I don't want the world to raise my kids. I want them to know where their identity lies. And I want to, like you said, apply. Like, I don't just want to throw Bible verses, down their throat, but just allow them to really build that connection with God. And everybody's connection with God is different.
Yeah.
It can literally be just listening to worship music and, laying at his feet, praying while you're driving, everybody's quiet time, meditation or prayer, that connection, that relationship that you have with God just looks different. I want them to really develop at an early age their connection with God. And I think sometimes when people think of prayer, they blow it out of proportion sometimes.
Right.
They just think it's this serious, so sha-na-na-na-na, you know what I'm saying? Like, speaking in tongues, which, for some people it is that, which is fine too, right? But it could be different for you. It could literally just how you talk to your mom or how you talk to your friend. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
And I feel like people just they hold it, or they just look at it so serious when it's just like, God just wants to know you, on a personal note.
And you acknowledge him.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's all he's looking for. He's not saying you have to sound like a preacher or,
Come as you are.
Exactly.
You don't have to
Like,
be
come as
perfect.
you are.
You don't have
so
to have it figured out. I love that. That's
And
so
I think the thing that I can say just personally, I really love the direction that a lot of churches are going in. And I guess it's because us as millennials, we're trailblazing, changing the way that things are being presented now, as opposed to like previous generations. And I think that that piece that you spoke on, Chelsea, as far as like the relationship is different. I like the fact that, you know, some of the churches that I have have shown that, you know, that everybody's relationship is different. It doesn't have to look the same. Just because they did it that way, that doesn't mean it's the right way.
Yeah.
And there is no right or wrong way per se, but do it your way. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, as for me and my household, no, I'm just kidding. No, but for real, like, you know, faith is important to me, and I want my kids to see that with Derek and I. So,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's like, I think, really good stuff. I'm going to kind of swing it to pretty much in present day what's going on right now with everything with Corona, COVID-19, whatever you want to call her. She just, you know, she's doing a
just
lot.
here.
like, you said you had to name her?
So pretty much just what are your guys' perspectives on, you know, everything that's going on now as far as like from a spiritual aspect? How do you feel that religion is coming into play with that? Even the transition of having like the virtual church and all those things. Like, what do you guys think about that?
I mean, you can get really deep with this, right? I know personally for me, because my plans were completely derailed, you know, going back to I had a full-blown wedding plan, and I know, you know, some people it's like wedding, like whatever. But you know, I had a full-blown wedding plan, and I feel like we were tested early on. What's important to us? Like simplicity, or do you need all these things? And I feel like in the midst of all this going on, God is really trying to say, we need to get back to the simple ways of things, simple life. You know, really caring, nurturing for each other. Like how, like this time is very crucial. You know, you have people that are losing their jobs. You have people that, you know, losses that are happening. You know, people are dying and they can't even grieve, you know, death because they can't even have funerals. So there's so much that's happening, or people are losing that sense of community. So who are you going to depend on at this time? Is it your job? Is it, you know, what are you going to look to?
Yeah.
And, you know, with having gone through that test, we decided to keep a positive mindset. God is still good. And I know it sounds so simple and easier said than done, but this was our time to really just depend on him and look at him and just know, like, through the midst of this all, you're going to make us stronger, you know, and that may look different for different people, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a funeral, or, you know, childbirth. Yeah. Finding yourself, doing things that that God has been trying to get you to do, and just sit down and take the time to do, but you haven't because you know, you got this going on. You're going to this brunch, which I do miss brunch. I'm not going to lie. But, you know, you got all this going on when it's just like, let's just live this simple life for right now, you
Most
know?
definitely.
What about you, V?
I would say for sure, I said this in the beginning, but to piggyback off of what you just said, Chelsea, it's forcing people to slow down.
Yes.
You know, we're getting out of routine. There isn't a constant stop and go, gotta be here, gotta do this, let me check my calendar. You're forced to sit with your own thoughts, your own demons. You're forced to handle and tackle things that you've been putting off. That also is inclusive to spirituality. Like you said, right now, all we really do is have faith. We see stuff going on in the U.S., but everywhere there's so much going on. And I feel like right now is a really, really good time to kind of either rekindle that relationship with God or to begin a relationship with God. I really feel like for me, spirituality has got me through, and I really just try to like get in his word and remind myself of so many positive things, so many things I can be thankful for. There are people out here who don't have running water. There are people out here who don't have food. There are people out here who may not have jobs but don't even know like how to get a resource to even assist them. So just thinking of the way my life is, I have so much to be thankful for, and I've just really taken the time to be a lot more humble about what's going on. I could easily complain about, oh, it ruined my plans, and oh, I want to do this, oh, I want to do that, but you know what? I have everything I need. I might not have what I desire, but I have everything I need, and I'm incredibly,
that is so important.
Yes, I'm incredibly thankful for that. You know, in terms of the COVID-19, I just want to challenge people that if you have strayed away from Christianity or just like your spirituality in general, this is a wonderful time to get back to that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I agree with both of you guys wholeheartedly. I do feel as though it's kind of crazy because although people say that the Bible is like interpreted by man and it's man-made, but it's like sometimes I really go back and I reference like, man, it really feels like we're living in the book of Revelations. And I'm not trying to get super deep or anything like that. You know, go back and read the Bible. I need to go back and probably read it some more too, but a lot of it, like, it's very real and it's kind of surreal but scary at the same time.
And we're reliving those
Yes,
things now.
so
I was
it's-
actually looking for the verse while you were talking, because we talked about it, and sorry to cut you off, like in Easter service this past Sunday, and the preacher made such a good point, and how, and I can't remember the exact thing that he said or that exact scripture that he pulled from it. I wish I would have had it already ready. But we are reliving what has already taken place.
Yes.
So
The only thing I say is, dear Lord, please let me have a family first. I would love to get married.
Okay.
And I would love to have children. And, you know, if that is...
sing at the wedding.
Right. And I'm just like, if that is in your will, Jesus, like, please let that happen for me. But I understand if it's not, but, you know, look out for your girl. Prayer is powerful. Even manifestation and words of affirmation, they are very powerful. There's a reason why every Monday we put that on our story, you know, because we really want you to speak that into your life, because a lot of that can manifest, you know. And it's crazy because even offline, you know, I was sharing with the ladies pretty much how, you know, I had a plan this year, you know, to be debt free and to be doing all these different things. And now I'm just like thinking like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this.
I said,
But they were
yes,
saying,
you will.
Yeah, they were saying, you know, it's
Just
power
said
in the
it.
tongue. You got to have faith. Just, it might not look the way you thought it was going to be, but,
Right.
you know, essentially it will happen the way it's supposed to.
Exactly.
And again, that ties back to the people you have around you. You know,
Yes.
they could have easily just said to me, yeah, girl, it's probably not gonna happen. I say that to say that, you know, just be careful in this time. Be careful about the people you have around you and who you're speaking to and who's feeding your spirit. Overall.
Yes. most
Repeat that
definitely.
again. Who is feeding your spirit?
Yes.
I think for me, just closing remarks would be to understand that your spiritual walk is individualistic. It's really important to not compare your walk with anybody else's walk, and to understand that there are going to be seasons in your walk with Christ, and there is going to be doubt on some real stuff. Like, any storm that I've went through, I've always came out better. I've always came out stronger. I've always learned a lesson. Positivity right now is needed more than ever. And we can start by, you know, our walk with God.
Yep. I would just have to say, when you choose to walk with God, that doesn't necessarily mean that your life is going to be easy. And I think sometimes that gets misinterpreted. At the end of the day, he just wants to hear from us. He knows what's in our hearts, but he wants to hear it from you personally. Your community is so important. And even now, at a time where we can't physically, you know, have that connection with people, having people that can pick up the phone or do Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, people that can really pray on your behalf when you're going through something. But just allowing this time to truly humble and taking this time to still be a light to others in the midst of all the negativity that you see. So keep the faith, people.
Seriously, like, don't be afraid to speak up. If you're going through something, don't let that ego get in the way of a blessing. Don't let that ego get in the way of, like, asking for help, asking for prayer. You know, I would even say, as much as, you know, I might be overstepping boundaries, but, like, if you're going through something you just want to share, or you just, you know, need a resource, like, even hit us up and we can see what we can do.
Happy to direct you.
Or
know,
if you
there's
need a
any
prayer.
Yes.
I told you I pray real good.
Okay.
I pray for you.
So yeah, definitely, like, don't be too proud, y'all. Don't be too proud. We're all going through something, and we got to get through this together. So
Yeah. So I guess with that being said, y'all want to do our social media plug?
Yes. I'm laughing because this is Chelsea Janae, your budget-friendly travel queen who currently can't travel, but that is okay. You know, it's all right, because we're going to pick it back up afterwards. And right now, I'm just spending time with my new hubby, so it's all good.
Yes. Okay. And this is your girl, Shay Jovan. And I have a tagline. So my tagline is thrift mixed with lifestyle with a sprinkle of travel. And
Drop the mic. Come on.
all right, yes, friend. Before the season ends,
I told you I was going to get it right.
I love it. That's awesome. And it's your girl V. You can follow me at Frugal Fashion Collective, where thrift fashion meets affordable luxury. And you can follow the Melanin Confidential page at melanin_confidential.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. We really appreciate you guys listening to us.
Yes.
Just take heed to everything we said during this episode, and we are serious. If you need a prayer partner or somebody, just some type of outlet, like DM us. We hope that everybody stays safe. Make sure to adhere to the social distancing so we can get through this. Wash your hands, wear your face mask, gloves, whatever it is we got to do to get through this. Y'all make sure y'all do that. Stay safe, stay prayed up, and
and be a light.
Yes.
Be light in the midst of the darkness.
Yes. So until next time, we will see you guys later.
Bye, guys.